To repressed eyes, I seem loose, but all is not as it seems. I know because that repressed guy, once upon a time, was me. Then I started to own my feelings of being a sexual being. Then an acronym came to mind, spelling a dirty word, but it's how I define.
Hi, I'm Sue Johnson, she, her, hers, and I work in HIV prevention and STI education.
Name is Lanier Javier, and pronouns are he, him.
MJ Rodriguez, preferred pronouns, I use all pronouns.
Mr. Lanier Javier, you are the sexpert. What has been your experiences with sex and hookups and all that good shit?
Well, I had a crash course from the moment I lost my virginity. Because anyone who follows me on my social media might have heard by now that I lost my virginity in a 5-man orgy. I only had sex with one person, but yeah, I was in a 5-man orgy. Long story short, my first night that I decided to confront my sexual orientation, went to the gay bar that used to be here in New York City called Splash. Went there. As soon as I walked in the door, I said, okay, I'm feeling this comfort here now, so yeah, this is me. As the night went on, the bar turns into a club, so I started dancing, was dancing on the box, and went through things. When go-go boys come up there, you have to get down, so as soon as I jumped down, this one guy started dancing with me, and then next thing I know, I got passed off to another guy who was a friend of his. He gave me my first kiss. And then I got passed off to another guy. We just had this whole big, humongous, makeout session where I wound up being pushed up against the pillar in the whole nine. Then I got invited to go back to their place, and they invited one other person. So that's how I wound up being a 5-man orgy.
And what was that experience like for you? And don't leave out no details either.
Well, I have often thought about writing an autobiography, and that experience is the only chapter that I actually have completed. And the title of it is Night of 1,000 Pop Cherries. Because there was so many firsts happening for me in that one night. Like I said, I came out to myself. And like I said, I had my first kiss that very night. After watching porn for God knows how many years, I actually saw, my first, before I had sex, I saw these two of the guys having sex with each other. So my first live visual of gay men having sex was right there on that night. And then now I'm having sex for the first time. And then the guy who I had sex with, he had topped me when I had sex, but later on, he wanted me to top him. My brain is processing all the shit I had experienced tonight. I can't do that. And it's probably because while that part sounds exciting to people, as I recently conveyed in one of my articles that I wrote for Thodacy, thing is that's the selling point to make people take note of the story. Underneath that though, part of the reason why the person I had sex with was not the person I was supposed to have sex with. The person I was actually supposed to have sex with was the third guy who had pinned me up against the pillar and whatnot. He was the boyfriend of the guy who I had sex with. The reason that it didn't happen is because before all the sex started happening, someone came by, they brought some coke. And evidently the coke dick kicked in. but it got blamed on the fact, what got blamed for the inability to perform was knowing too much about my story, because I was very open about the fact that I was a virgin. So yeah. So that's why I came, if you ever occasionally see me nickname myself the Ellie Stream, that's why, because every time I take on something new, there's always seems, whether it's sexual or not, there always seems to be an extreme situation behind it. And when I tell people that, they're like, you earned that name.
So, starting this off on a real, I guess, like, what's the word? Blunt, and you know, it's in your face. You know, I am what you would consider a twink in the gay community, and so there's a lot of shit that goes around, you know, being labeled as such, because you kind of have to appease to a certain kind of group. You have to look a certain type of way, and even when I'm not trying, people are just trying to get up on me and touch me because I'm a slim build, you know, and I'm muscular and toned. I do work out. I'm a fitness instructor, so that goes into that. So I would say sexually, I'm a very like laid back person when it comes to sex, because that's never the first thing that I think about in a relationship or in a setting in general. And I feel like in the gay community and the LGBTQ community, sex is really big for like no reason.
S is for sexually, when I want to and should be. Sparked by when the sight of you tickles my fancy.
First question is, what are some of your sexual do's and sexual don'ts, otherwise known as some of your sexual fetishes, kinks, and whatnot? We'll start with that first.
Okay. Well, I can at least tell you sexual don'ts. I don't do golden showers. That's a no. At least for me. No shade to anybody that likes it. That's a no. Race play is a no for me as well. That's just, my ancestors would be very upset with me. And then there is do's. I do like bondage. I do like sadomasochism, rough play. Kind of get your blood pumping and everything else. You know, anything that is exciting, role playing. Yeah, I don't have a lot of don'ts, but there's a lot of do's. I'll try anything once, twice. If I like it 3 times, I'm a glutton. So.
They have to have a great personality. Like, if I cannot smile or feel comfortable to be myself with that person, then I don't think there's like any chance of us stepping in the bed together. Like, if you cannot make me laugh, or if you cannot like make me tingle, if you know what I mean, you know that feeling you get when someone talks to you and you just, if that doesn't happen for me, then, you know, not that that's a turn off, but that is a step, it's a deciding factor for me, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
As far as turn offs, ungroomed hair, ungroomed nails, you know, but just unkeptness in general, I would say. Like, you don't have to be like all metrosexual and get your pedicure, manicure done every week or whatever, but you should definitely have that basic hygiene.
Well, I have made no secret that one kink, sexual do's and sexual kink that I definitely have is a hot guy wearing a top and no bottoms. I mean, yeah, that has happened. As far as the only don't I really have with don'ts, I would say, I can tell you right on top of my head, and I say it on profile all the time. Fisting, blood, and scat. Those we are not doing. I am very experimental, but those are things that, no. Actually, the last 2 are definite no's. I have had a little experience where I came this close to being fisted. but the person was smaller than I was, so that's probably why I even allowed it to happen. And matter of fact, there is a blog article I wrote about that incident, where the thing is, he said that if I had, because I stopped him, he said if I had just waited like 10 more seconds, he would have been all the way in. But like I said, he's smaller than me. I'm only 5'6" and like 150, 160 pounds, so yeah, his hand wasn't that big. Now someone who's like over 6 feet tall and drop, yeah. But as far as like so those are the sexual don'ts. Sexual do, like I said, I'm pretty open to experimenting, even if something that I haven't even thought of sometimes.
List them. Yeah, you heard me list them.
Well, I've done golden showers.
And for those who don't know what a golden shower is.
Peeing on somebody. Peeing on someone or being peed on. The only thing I will say with that is I do not go into it to the extreme like some people do, because I'm not, well, I may do it in their house, or we are not doing it in mine, because I am not investing in no rubber sheets like some people be having and all that to go all out with it, because I'm always looking at the big picture. And the big picture is, after y'all done, someone gotta clean that mess up. I ain't doing all that work. So, let me see, think of something else. Oh man, I guess there's so many. Rimming, I do love giving oral. That I actually just started making a video in the wee hours of this morning where I did that on a dildo. Just to put my skills out there. Let's see what else. I am on the verge of considering working on my nipples more.
A little bit more onto that.
Well, because I have been with some people who, you know, when you see someone with those very perky nipples, and it's because that they've conveyed to me that the way they got it is by using like nipple suction devices that you can get in any sex shop. And over time, it's just made it more, you know, perky and a little more sensitive. And for myself, anyone who's probably seen a photo error from me, probably realize if you really focus on the nipples, they don't stick out very much. Well, they're hardly noticeable if they don't become noticeable until I'm turned on. So I was thinking of making them doing something to make them a little more perky.
Okay, so we have golden showers, oral, the nipples. Anything else?
I'm a total ass man. That's one thing I've definitely have said. I always have said that I am such an ass man that I will want to have sex with a cute guy, seeing his ass before I have bottom for him without even seeing his dick. I don't care how big his penis may be. I'm that much of an ass man that it's the nice butt. Sure, I'll bottom for you. I don't need to see how big the penis is at all.
L is for liberated. I no longer will be held down. All these repressive cultures around me won't silence my needed sound. U is for unapologetic. So if you want me ashamed, forget it. I'm living my sexual honesty to prevent a life where I'll regret it.
When we look at sex positivity in the gay community. What is your take on, or if we keep it up here, there's not much to talk about. What do you think, or what is your take on, sex positivity amongst the LGBTQ community?
So I feel like there's talks, but it's like in little shells of like people, so like little pockets where people talk about the sex positivity. I think that it's a little bit more pervasive in regards to like the not so sex positivity, because you do see that here locally in the capital region as well. So it's like pockets, like you'll see the organizations, you'll also see the other people, college kids, people who are our age in their 30s, 40s. So it's just pockets. It's not a tangible scene.
One thing about living in this time period is that we have access to the entire world at our fingertips. I remember reading in the Metroland, which was a local independent newspaper that is no longer with us, Dan Savage's column. So Dan Savage was the go-to for people who were saying, this is what I am really into and I'm very ashamed. Or I told my partner, this is what I like, and they had a horrible reaction and now I feel ashamed or upset or we broke up. So thank God Dan Savage is now online. Savage Love, you can read it anywhere. And he's written several books as well. But yeah, communication, I think for even going back further, I think you have to get to know yourself really well before you have sex, or at least figure out somewhat what you like. So masturbation is not something that we talk a lot about, especially in schools. Get to know your body, get to figure out what you like. Not everybody likes the same thing. Not everybody likes to be touched in the same way. Some people don't even like to be touched at all when they're having sex, believe it or not. And you can always find communities now. There's, like I said, you have that information in your pocket, basically on your phone. You can find communities that are into BDSM, very specific fetishes. You can find almost anywhere. I know with child protective laws, particularly in New York State, it's slightly harder to find connections on public platforms. There was trying to cut down on child sex trafficking, but it impacted sex workers as well. So all at once, it was really great that yes, we were trying to keep kids safe from sex trafficking, but at the same time, people who are sex workers, and sex work is legitimate work, their livelihood was being disrupted. That's another thing too. I feel like sex work is all about sex positivity because people do it for various reasons, and it is their own choice. And it is their own choice of the clientele that they want to meet, how much they're charging you per session, and honestly, it's a profession in which you're getting paid to make someone feel good and feel happy and feel special and not feel ashamed that maybe they like to wear certain outfits, or maybe they like to be physically dominated, or they want someone to yell at them, like hurl slurs at them. That's niche, but there are people that they are sexually satisfied from that, and we shouldn't look down on it. And we should, personally, I think sex work should be legalized, and we should celebrate it a lot more.
I think it's a good conversation to have out, especially when you're about to engage with another person consensually. You definitely need to be able to have that conversation like, hey, I don't like this, or hey, I don't like that, or hey, that hurts. Like, be able to communicate that in order. I think once you kind of communicate that and everyone kind of knows the gameplay and what's supposed to happen, I think sex is usually more, it's a lot more passionate. It's a lot more like, oh my God, this feels great, because you're getting he's getting all of your kinks and everything else that you like, and you're also doing the same thing. So at the end of the day, you both kind of come there to, you know, get your rocks off, and that's kind of what at least the purpose is for it. How long you want your rocks off, that's usually on y'all, but.
T is for titillator. No shame in my desire. The joy of mutual consent makes me open to create a sexy fire. So I call myself that, standing for something. That something is not the word you know. For those who define as the word, in some ways live by a different code. If you're going to be the acronym, then be the acronym. If you're going to be the word, then be the word. And if you dare to falsely advertise, then I guess my calling out rep is not one you've heard.
Now, when we talk about shaming and, you know, the bedroom and whatnot, let's dive into that, you know. What have you noticed about, you know, that whole experience of shaming? And I'm just going off the top of my head.
Well, I mean, there's different kinds of shaming. There's like the slut shaming, there's bottom shaming, there's even like body shaming as well. Like, body dysmorphia is real in our community. So like most people are looking for like this cookie cutter GQ magazine kind of body. Most of us don't have that. So then we get insecure, we're going to the gym, we're doing everything we're supposed to do, all this other stuff, and we have this unrealistic expectation of what like other gay men are supposed to look like. So that's one. Another one is, I guess meeting certain roles, like, you know, do you look like a daddy? Do you look like a thug? Do you fit the role? Those are stuff that that our community is into.
It's a delicate question. I don't know if I really have an answer, but from the stigma around it, it harkens back to a lot of it has to do with prison myths and being somebody's bitch, being owned by somebody. You're the girl. I've heard that a lot from cis-het men that, oh, which one's the girl? Which one takes it up the ass? And it has nothing to do with femininity. It has nothing to do with female. It sounds more like a power dynamic and a rape culture feeling. I don't think there's a power imbalance when someone is a bottom. And as far as kink shaming goes, I feel like that is not part of the mainstream. Even if we're talking about someone with a cat of nine tails and they're wearing leather, that's still looked upon as strange and foreign. And the more people don't understand something, the quicker they are to dismiss it or think it's unhealthy. This is all opinion based. And again, I don't feel like there's a really straightforward answer about how we can fix these stigmas and shaming people.
Now, what are, I would say, some tips on, you know, for people that, you know, they want to explore different kinks and whatnot, and they are not sure how to or whatnot? What are some tips so they can do it safely? Because some of them, they're a little...
Yeah, definitely safety first. Definitely let someone know where you're going to be. Maybe even just quietly or quickly text someone or drop a pin to let them know where you're at. There are actually a great deal many dating apps where you can select down to the types of fetishes you're into and match up with folks that have similar interests. So thank God there is that. There are actually fetish dating websites now. I'm sorry, not websites. Dating fetish apps where you can definitely find someone that is going to be into what you're into, that you can find the appropriate partner for yourself, that it's all about consent, that you're agreeing to terms before you actually meet up with this person. I think it's really healthy and important to know what your boundaries are and to have a partner that's going to respect them.
Because baby, I'm not a slut. I'm an SLUT slut. I'm not the word, I'm an acronym. Take a seat so I can enlighten you from being so quick to skim. I like to fuck. Yes, I'm always horny. But I'm damn sure picky, so a tryst with me ain't phony. So yes, I'm a sexually liberated, unapologetic titillator. I'm an SLUT slut.